What we know is that many writers resort to plagiarism in order to claim for themselves what other people have written. Or they plagiarize what gives their writing some finer qualities when they feel that their action is unlikely to be detected. In fact, some of them resort to grave digging in order to claim for themselves stuff written by authors that have been long dead. No one in history has ever attributed to someone else the finest pieces of his own thought, or his most superb writings, or the most precious jewel in his crown. This is unheard of. If we were to suppose that this could happen, we cannot find any reasonable or even semi-reasonable justification for it. A naive person may suggest, however, that such an aspirant to leadership might have thought that by attributing the Qur'an to divine revelation, he may find it easier to win people's obedience for his orders. Such a claim, it might be thought, would give his orders a special sanctity which could not otherwise belong to them had he declared that he himself had issued them all. But this is false both in essence and in nature. It is essentially false because the man who brought the Qur'an to us made statements that he attributes to himself and others that he attributes to God Almighty. What he claims to be his own is no less binding on us than what he attributes to God. Nor is obedience of the latter more imperative. In fact, he claims the same degree of obedience for both types without distinction. Their sanctity is the same. To obey him is to obey God, and to disobey him is to disobey the Almighty. If it is a question of obedience that is behind the claim of divine authorship, then why has he not claimed it for everything he himself said? This is also false in nature because it relies on an unfounded assumption that such a leader is one who wishes to establish reforms, but who does not mind giving his reforms a foundation of lies and falsehood. Historical truth disproves this. Anyone who monitors his conduct in all that he says and does, explicit or implicit, in situations of pleasure or anger, in private and in public, can only conclude that no one could be further from cunning or deviousness. In fact, he was always very truthful and accurate in small and serious matters, whether alone or with others. This was the most pronounced and clearest of his characteristics, both before and after prophethood. In fact, both his friends and enemies testified to this in his own lifetime and up to our present day. Say, had God so willed, I would not have conveyed this Qur'an to you, nor would he have brought it to your knowledge. Indeed, a whole lifetime have I dwelt among you before this revelation came to me. Will you then not use your reason? Chapter 10, verse 16. It may be useful here to give some very clear examples from the Prophet's own conduct which testify to his truthfulness in stating that the Qur'an is God's revelation and that he could not have produced any part of it on his own initiative. Sometimes he went through hard times, which required some statement to be made. In fact, the need was so urgent that had the matter been left to him, he would have found the words to say and the occasion to make such a pronouncement. But days and nights went by, and he would not find any Quranic statement to recite to people concerning the emergency he was facing. The hypocrites in Medina fabricated their false accusations of adultery concerning his wife Aisha. Nothing was revealed to him concerning this for a while. Time passed, and people continued to talk, and those affected were in utter distress. He himself had to be so reserved in what he said about his wife. I have seen nothing evil from her. He did his best to investigate the matter and consulted his trusted companions. A whole month passed by, and everyone said that they knew her to be of good and honest character. At last, he could say to her nothing more than this: Aisha, I have heard this and that being said about you. If you are innocent, then God will make your innocence clear. If you have done something wrong, then seek God's forgiveness. These are his own words as he could view the matter. We realize that this is the statement of a human being who has no knowledge beyond what his faculties of perception give him, and one who would not make a conclusion without firm evidence, and would not say what he does not know to be true. But he hardly uttered these words when the opening part of Surah 24, Light, was revealed to him, declaring her complete innocence and giving a clear verdict of her purity and faithfulness. The relevant hadith is related by al-Bukhari, Muslim and others. Had the matter been up to him, what would have prevented him from producing such a verdict earlier to protect his own honor and his own wife? He could have attributed that verdict to divine revelation in order to silence those who continued to spread such rumors. However, Muhammad, a man who had never lied to other mortals, would not lie to God. Had he dared to attribute falsely some sayings to us, we would indeed have seized him by his right hand and would indeed have cut his life vein, and none of you could have saved him. Chapter 69, verses 44 to 47.